Hi guys, it's Alex Base here. Welcome to my channel. Thanks to everybody who has subscribed to my channel, and for anybody else who hasn't done so yet, well, what are you waiting for? Hit it. Hit it now. I'm just kidding, obviously, but I have to do the cheap promotion. Otherwise, no one else is going to do it for me. And today I've got the Poco X7, and it is a very exciting budget blower from Poco, which is owned by Xiaomi, of course. I rarely do budget phones unless they're truly special, and this is the case here. And this particular version is with vegan leather on the back, but you can also get it in green color and also silver, and they are both plastic. This one here, vegan leather, the black version, is very nice, very cool to the touch, really. They all get plastic frame, and on the front they've got Gorilla Glass Victus 2 protection and a screen protector on top of it, which is fantastic. And I've got the 8 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage version. And in the UK, the starting price for this one, which came out a few days ago, is £199. In Europe, the price is at about 250 euros, as far as I know. In the US is $280, and in India, the basic version of it, which is 8 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage, starts at about 22,000 rupees. There's a lot going on for this phone, and you get a lot for your money. And for starters, you do get a IP68 rating for water and dust resistance. You heard that correctly. For £199, you do get full water protection, and this is unheard of at this price point. And also you do get stereo speakers and a gorgeous 68 billion color full HD super AMOLED screen. You heard that correctly, 68 billion colors, a 12-bit color display. Many flagships don't have 12-bit color displays, and yet this budget blower has it. This is outstanding. It's also got HDR 10 Plus support and Dolby Vision, which is super. Another thing that Xiaomi has promised is 3 years of software updates and 4 years of security patches. And on the back, you do get well, they say it's triple camera setup, but technically it's a double camera, really. You do get 50 megapixel main snapper, 8 megapixel ultra wide, and a pointless 2 megapixel macro lens. And a lot to offer. Really, there's a lot going on for this phone. One thing that doesn't have, we're going to see in a second, no charger in the box, but we saw that coming, didn't we? Many things are right with it. What exactly is wrong with it? And I'm telling you straight away, it is worth buying it for £199, spoiler alert. But let me prove my point that it is worth buying it. So let's get started. And now, through the magic of video editing, we're going to go back in time and unbox it. As you already know, there's no charger in the box. It's a thin box, of course. But let's check what's inside of it. This is the 8 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. And as you already know, I'm great with unboxing. Not. It's always a struggle. So you get the phone on the top, and the main specs are listed, actually, which is nice. But let's see what else is there in the box. Again, of course, a little bit of struggle. Inevitable. So we got the SIM ejection tool on the on bottom. And then inside of it, we've got a case. Nice. And what's this one? Some sort of a ring. Maybe let's check it out. Oh, it's actually more like a tag. Okay, we got the tag. Cool. Don't know what it is for, but we've got it. We've got the booklets and the warranty as usual. And let's check out the case. It's not a transparent case, so it's it's a very nice case, actually. And yeah, I do like that one. Nice touch from Poco, and of course a USB-A to USB-C charging cable, and that's about it. Poco X7's design, it's one of those you either love it or hate it, but it's got a lot to offer. The user experience is really a mixed bag. It's super bad on one side and super good on the other. It's a complete paradox. So let me explain. I'm going to start with the super bad stuff. The software skin is full of ads and bloatware. There is a lot of apps pre-installed that you really need to get rid of, that you don't need. TikTok, Spotify, LinkedIn, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. Anything that you don't need and you can uninstall it, I suggest you do uninstall it. HyperOS is a highly modified Android skin. It's not exactly my cup of tea and it's not smooth. Don't use the file manager of Xiaomi because it's full of ads as well. Use the Google file manager. That's going to be better for you. And also if you use the booster or the cleaner, it also contains ads. One way to work around and alleviate the pain of those ads is to switch off the notifications from the theme store, Mi browser, and the booster. That can help a lot. Also, you swipe and you close the app, swiping left and right instead of swiping it up, which is a bit annoying. On the subject of HyperOS, Xiaomi promises 3 years of software updates and 4 years of security updates. However, there's a catch. And the catch is the phone is running on Android 14 coming out of the box, even though Android 15 has been around for months. Google Play Store updates are also behind. Since it's a budget blower, we can probably forgive those shortcomings. Now let's move on to the good stuff. And it's got NFC and it's got eSIM support, which is unheard of at this price point. You can use 2 physical SIM cards or 1 SIM card and 1 eSIM. It has got screen unlock, face unlock, and a fingerprint in-display scanner, and it's actually quite snappy, surprisingly fast. You do get a lot of features, like a smart bar. You also get floating windows and other stuff, and all this can be very helpful in certain situations. It has, for example, virtual RAM expansion that you can take from the storage if you run out of RAM, and it's up to 8 gigabytes. It's a gorgeous OLED screen, so it's got always on display as well, which is also very rare at this price point. One very cool feature is that it can actually measure your heart rate. You just put your finger on the fingerprint scanner and just hold it for 15 seconds and it's gonna measure your heart rate. How accurate it is a different story, but it is a very interesting feature to have nonetheless. Poco X7 also has other extraordinary features for this price level, like Pro HDR and AI features in the photo gallery, as well as Gemini support. That's really is unheard of at this budget level. What is critical race theory?
Critical race theory, CRT, is an academic framework that examines how race and racism have shaped legal systems and societal structures in the United States. It argues
the phone also has Dolby Atmos support, again very rare at this price. The speakers do sound overall good and you can hear them out here. Another feature you get is you can charge other devices with a USB cable. Just turn on the OTG. In the battery settings, you can change it from the balanced regular mode to high performance mode to make it as fast as possible. You also get some other features in the battery section. It's a big 5110 mAh battery. However, in India, you get a bigger capacity of 5500 mAh. Since the phone doesn't come with a charger and I didn't have a Xiaomi charger at hand, I used a standard 45 watt charger. When charging from 0%, I got 57% charge in 30 minutes. A full charge took 1 hour and 13 minutes, which is very respectable for a budget phone. Not to mention it's actually much faster than an iPhone and even Google Pixel or Samsung. And again, a quick reminder that fast charging does not damage your battery lifespan. In terms of battery life, 1 hour of phone calls took down the battery by 3%, which is good. 1 hour of gaming took it down by 12%, which is pretty much the standard. 1 hour of web browsing, however, took it down by 10%, which is on a lower side. And 1 hour of videos took it down by 8%, again a little bit on the lower side. Battery life is solid, but not exceptional. Poco X7 has the Dimensity 7300 Ultra chipset. It's a slightly boosted version of the Dimensity 7300. But it shows better scores in Antutu, as you can see in a second. The benchmarks in Geekbench 6 are pretty good for this budget class, and the stability of it is phenomenal. The phone does not overheat and maintains game frames for as long as possible. It does not really dip down. The Dimensity 7300 Ultra scores about 100,000 points more in Antutu than the Dimensity 7300. Now let's check that gorgeous 1.5K Super AMOLED 120Hz display. It is usable outdoors, even though I'm not so sure if in a sunny day it would be that legible. We don't have that many days like that in England. The screen is curved, as you can see, and accidental touches on the side are very, very likely, so it's better to use a case. The Poco X7 has a gorgeous 120Hz screen, however it's got features that are unheard of at this price point, such as 1.5K resolution, HDR10 Plus support, and Dolby Vision. You do get HDR on certain content on YouTube, and also you can get HDR10 and Dolby Vision on Netflix. I can also confirm that you can get 4K HDR10 Plus and Dolby Vision on Amazon Prime. The screen is fantastic for this budget level, and the contrast is pretty good. The blacks are pretty deep, and it's got very good sharpness at 446 pixels per inch. No matter what content you watch, movies, TV series, TV shows, animation, or sports, or anything else, you will be very happy with the display. Now let's take a look at the refresh rate. It goes up to 120 Hz that you can choose into the settings. You can also choose a app-specific refresh rate. When you set the screen to 120 Hz and you're in the interface, you get 120 Hz when you're interacting with the screen, and when you stop interacting, it's 60 Hz. And web browsing, specifically in Google Chrome, as I tested, is the same, 120 Hz and then 60 Hz when you're not touching the screen. In videos and in Google Maps, you do get 60 Hz. When you set the refresh rate to 60 Hz, that is all you get in everything you use. Unsurprisingly, in all the games that I tried, none of them managed to get past 60 Hz. That's completely understandable for a phone at this price point. Gaming, however, was consistent, and the phone got only very slightly warm. Now let's take a look at those cameras. We've got a main snapper 50 megapixels Sony IMX882 sensor with optical image stabilization, an ultra-wide 8 megapixel Sony IMX355, a macro lens 2 megapixel OmniVision OV02B10, and a front camera 20 megapixel OmniVision OV20B sensor. The selfies are of average detail and overall soft look. They are a bit adequate for color accuracy and dynamic range, though. The contrast is not that great, but still it's a budget phone, so we need to lower our expectations. Portraits are likable overall. The detail is, again, average. However, the separation of the subject is pretty good. I'm not going to go as far as and say these are, you can post them on social media, but I would still think they are usable. The photos from the main camera, you can use them with the HDR on or off, are overall good for this price point. And the dynamic range is relatively wide. There is little noise in them, and the contrast is okay. The resolve detail again is average, and the colors at times look a bit oversaturated and probably a little bit overprocessed. However, I think overall they are good pictures. When you turn the HDR on, it does make a difference, even if it is a very, very slight difference, but it's still there. You can also shoot in RAW mode if you want to. The ultra wide shots and the 2x digital zoom photos are pretty average. There's nothing to write home about, and they do look over processed and not that detailed, but that is to be expected, really. The night shots are surprisingly decent, and it still got decent colors and contrast, and the separation of subject is again pretty good in portrait mode. I am overall satisfied with the quality of them given the price of the phone. You can choose between using the flash or leaving it out. The night shots from the main camera also turn out to be decent. I was a bit surprised by the quality of them. Not that they're great or anything, and I would not suggest that you use a budget phone for night photos, but still they turn out okay. As you can see here, the contrast is okay, the dynamic range is reasonable, and there's enough detail in them really for a phone of this price point. You can choose between using the flash, using night mode, or just shooting straight up, and the phone kicks the night mode in itself. The ultra wide shots and the 2x zoom are okay as long as there is enough light, of course. I wouldn't suggest that you use them at night, but even if you want to use them in certain conditions, they can be very usable. Just make sure there's enough light and you will be fine with them. And again, just like during the day, you can use the HDR mode on the main cam, and it does make a difference. You can check the rest of the photos and let me know what you think. Now let's move on to the video. This is 1080p at 30 frames per second. This is 1080p at 60 frames per second. The video from the main camera on the Poco X7, it's actually surprisingly good for this class. It can shoot up to 4K at 30 frames per second, and the video is surprisingly good. The 1080p 30 frames and 60 frames per second respectively is also decent, and I didn't have much complaints about it given the price. The ultra wide can shoot up to 1080p at 30 frames per second. It's decent and usable, not much else. The 2x zoom is very fuzzy. I would suggest that you don't use it at all. Also, when you shoot in 30 frames or 24 frames per second, move the phone's camera very slowly. Otherwise, it really starts to break up a little bit, as you can see in the footage. You can check out the rest of the videos and let me know what you think about them. 4K 30 frames per second. (1080p) 60 frames per second. Ultra wide 1080p 30 frames per second. (4K 30 frames per second). I'm 2x zoom, 4K 30 frames per second. There you have it, guys. The Poco X7. Phenomenal value for money. The phone is introduced at £199 in the UK. It's going to go up to £249 shortly. However, it's totally worth it, even at 249 quid. It offers very, very much. The year has just started, and this phone is a contender for budget phone of the year. It is that freaking good. If you're in the market for a budget phone, I recommend that you have a look at this one. It is completely worth it. Of course, on the downside, there's no charger in the box. We need to get used to that. And the atrocious software with lots of ads and bloatware. Some of it can be uninstalled and blocked, thankfully, but it is what it is. And lower scores in the battery department for web browsing and videos. However, the overall battery life is good. Well, thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe to my channel, and see you next time. Ciao.